Welcome to Dance to Heal. I'm your host, Jenny C. Cohen. Join me as I share stories of how dance and movement can bring healing in a way that is safe and tailored to your life. I'm a cancer survivor, mother of two, and an award-winning performer who found that movement was vital to my recovery. I created Dance to Heal Wellness and also authored the best-selling book, Outside in Recovery, Dancing My Way Back to Myself After Breast Cancer. I will bring new techniques to help you on your dance journey and healing path. Are you ready to move? Dance to Heal starts now. International author and speaker Kitti Andrews, also known as the One Lady, helps people go from overwhelm in their accumulation to creating their new calm and clutter-free life. As CEO at Declutter the Brain, Kitti has presented her step-by-step one decluttering system at Stanford and Harvard Universities. She has been featured in the Los Angeles Tribune and USA Today. And with so much pleasure, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, Kitti.
Thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to this a lot, Jenny.
Yes! Audience members, we know that the title of this podcast was enticing to you, and I want to explain something. So this is full disclosure moment. I have clutter, and I know it is absolutely connected to some things that I'm still resolving post my breast cancer recovery. And I wanted you to speak on that a little bit, Kitti, about, we're cutting to the chase, okay? We're not just talking about clutter, folks. There's enough memes out there about how clutter is related to stuff you have to deal with. I just really want Kitti to go cut to the chase and tell us, how do you know, first of all, if you have clutter? Like, what is, some people say, oh, I just have some piles here and there. Like, what is clutter?
Well, there are a couple of litmus tests, and of course, one man's clutter is what someone can perceive to be clutter is just a good to, especially to ADHDers who tend to leave things out for visual reminders. We just either go clutter blind, or it's just no. I need to see that. So it's partly in the eye of the beholder. However, if it starts to be a safety hazard, if it starts to be that you have to literally, and I've seen this too many times, I'm afraid, step over things to get from one room to the other, or from one end of the room to the other, well, then you may have a clutter problem. If you are making repeated trips to the store, now here's an interesting statistic for you. National Association of Professional Organizers tells us that we spend the average North American spends a year of their life searching for and replacing things, and about $800. So clutter is expensive. If you find yourself repeatedly going to the store to get that yet another roll of masking tape when you know that you have 3. If you just notice that it's happening a lot. Another litmus test can be if your boss, your coworker, your parents. I just did a video series on this, so it's really, really fresh. If you find that they're complaining more than normal, and some people will complain no matter what you do, right? You cannot please everyone. If you find that they're really starting to get on your case, you may want to look around and say, well, they could be right. It's really a matter of proportion. And is it becoming a distraction to you? Are you starting to look around at your space, as my cousin Terry did, and say, my God, I can't even have my own brother in to help me to fix the shower. This is true story. If you're finding that you're ashamed, as a client of mine calls it, soul-crushing shame, because you feel that you'll never dig out from the clutter, you're totally overwhelmed, and yet you feel, well, why can't I? I should be able to ... If you're starting to experience depression, which is very, very common, about your clutter, then it's time to do something about it. And we can talk more about what that something is.
That's coming up. And I wanted to add some things. So audience, you know, with me, I'm an open book with you because it's really important for you to know, like, none of us who are out in the open present as perfect people. All right, we're just more outgoing so you see us. My clutter isn't necessarily unsafe per se, right? Because my husband was a volunteer fireman, so I know better than to block doorways.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So the caveat is, do you have piles of clutter that overlap with what Kitty's saying, where you don't quite know what's in it, but you think you have an idea, and then when you need it, you can't find it. Especially if, because we're not organized, most of us, right? If it's not locked and pushed into a closet so you don't have to see it, that's also clutter. Yeah. So, right? Or even clutter in your computer. Some of us have, right? Yes, exactly. See, she's clutching her face. Like we tend to, we might be clean on the outside surface, meaning all of our clutter is hidden away in drawers and closets. If they were to open our computer, there's myriads of things on our what is that called? The thing on your dashboard, whatever your
Yeah.
computer is, right? I know I look Asian, folks, but I'm not very good with the computer. But the front part of the computer, if you have multiple exterior hard drives that you keep dumping stuff in and you're not quite sure what's in it, that's clutter. I'm saying this because I'm living this right now. All right. Or, right. You were enjoying retail therapy during the lockdown. I know a lot of us were. So now you have to get rid of the stuff because you're not home that much to use it, right? So just to clarify, and this is not a shaming thing. This is a real talk with Jenny and Kitty moment, because what objects can also weigh on you energetically, can't they, Kitty?
Oh, hugely so. And anytime I work with a client, within 3 weeks, they have some sort of aha moment in a different pillar of life, because you got your home, and then you got your health, your heart, meaning your relationships, your habits, and your head. Hence my company name, Declutter the Brain. And it always a breakthrough happens because you're shifting energies, you're getting rid of ghosts from the past that no longer serve you. Now, those ghosts can be manuals from a training course that you did, that you're never even going to do that career for that training course, or clothes that, well, it costs money and I shouldn't throw it away and I'll probably fit into it again. These are ghosts that I firmly believe that they are keeping you from moving forward. And every time I or other clients, they start doing this, they start noticing things about themselves or their health or their relationships,
Hmm.
and start to take action.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love this. You're being haunted by your past
Mhm.
when you hold on to your clutter. And here's another thing, as a breast cancer survivor or a survivor, most survivors talk about how they want to go back to the me before. I'm sorry, folks, there's no me before anymore. We change. We're not the same person. We actually want you to move to the new you. The present version of you does not need the stuff you're holding on to. That it's actually holding you back from moving on, right, Kitty?
Absolutely, something has absolutely that I acknowledge and respect you for what you've been through. Something like that is, frankly, it evolves you. It evolves your strength, your tenacity, your resiliency. How can you possibly be the same person that you were BC? It just can't be. So is that the ideal time to declutter after, if you're in remission? Perhaps. And I told you off air about something About exactly that. That can, it could be part of the healing process.
Thank you. That's really important. I want you to understand this. So, there is one caveat I want to be clear, okay? If you are in the middle of a giant thing that's upheavaling your life, okay, let's be clear. We're not saying it's happening for you, because when I was going through cancer, I did not want to have anyone tell me on the outside of it going, it's happening for you. I'm sorry, it's happening to me. Similar to someone going through heartache or grieving a passing of a family member. In hindsight, we can say it happened for us. So I am 9, almost 10 years out, and I can absolutely agree with you, Kitti. It happened for me to be in a different place. So we're just going to talk a couple positions right now. If you are in the middle of something, because we're going to move into this now, like, all right, I recognize I've got clutter. Well, how do I get started? Because, for me, I had clutter actually even, get ready. My hands are up, folks, full discretion. I had clutter even before pandemic because I was still in the post cancer recovery process.
Okay.
And honestly, before cancer, I had clutter too. Because I had all of the trauma that led to my getting cancer. That's a whole nother topic. I'll tell you all about it in October for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I promise. However, the point of it is that oftentimes, right, Kitti, the clutter has been accumulating for years. It's not, oh, last month I cluttered.
Yeah, no, I often say it didn't accumulate overnight, and it's not going to go away overnight unless you say back up the truck, boys. And, just take it all away. So cut yourself some slack and take it one thing at a time, which is the name of the system that I use to help people to do it, to get decluttered for life with a minimum of overwhelm, because decluttering can be overwhelming.
It's
Mm.
exhausting.
Yeah.
It's exhausting. I mean, I am so grateful that you're giving our listeners and our YouTube watchers down in the links in the descriptions is a link so you can access Kitti's 7 easy steps to conquer your physical and mental clutter. Okay, so make sure you go to that link and click on it. And here's the thing, some of us have difficulty even executing that. So be sure, I always tell people to go to mydanceandheal.com landing page so you can do some movement before you click, or you might click on Kitti's thing and be like, oh wow, this is so cool, but I don't know how to like just pull the trigger. Dance around to Dance and Heal and then go to her link and do her really cool suggestions. So tell us kind of like, what do I do? Minus asking you to come and help me.
I've got to say, I love that. I actually had a little mental visual of doing a little dance before you would start. It's not the worst idea in the world.
It's one of the few things that gets me going, honestly.
Well, it can boost your energy and your mood, your dopamine, which of course, this is not an ADHD show, but there are many people that, especially if you have creatives in your audience, they may we can't manufacture dopamine. So that the dance that you help people with, it helps their mental state. So, sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent there.
Okay.
The one system. Simple, and some people would say it is simplistic. However, it's the number one way that you can get the clutter keep it from coming back. So it is one room at a time, one area of that room at a time, and one thing at a time. Now I'm gonna go back over that and briefly explain. Okey doke?
Yes.
Okay, one room at a time. By that, I mean, choose one room and just stick with it. The temptation, especially if you get bored easily as well, and is I'll do a little bit in my office. Imagine you're an entrepreneur. I'll do a little bit in my office and then I'll go in the spare room. And then I'll come back to the office. Well, frankly, from a purely practical point of view, by the time you come back to your office, you've forgotten where you were. It takes you about 15 minutes to get into character. You understand this is a dancer. I hope it takes you time to get back into it and get that momentum going again. And along with it, the self-confidence. Whereas if you stick with that one room, you will see results, and and it will fuel upon itself, because lowered self-esteem can be a huge side effect of clutter. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, now we go. Oh, and please, in the name of all that's holy, with your one room, don't start in the basement that has the 30 years worth of Christmas decorations. Don't do that to yourself. You're just shooting yourself in the foot. So then we move on to the one area of that room at a time. So you've chosen your one room, now we're in the one area. Exact same principle, except it's, as my father would have said, smallened. It's smaller than one room. You're choosing one area for the same exact reason, is to keep that momentum going and reduce the over. Give yourself that yes I can feeling, because before, where there was despair, where you're looking at you're looking at the room and going yoy yoy yoy, I'm going to push the tomorrow button and go for lunch. You can go from despair to confidence to wow, I can't believe I got all that done. That in and of itself is transformative. And then we get to one thing at a time. And is that time consuming? I can hear your audience groan as we speak. Is it time consuming? It can be. Is it tedious? Yes, it can be. However, is it also the number one way that you can keep the clutter from coming back? Yes. And if I could share a 30-second story to demonstrate.
Mm-hmm. Please.
All right. My very, very first client, might be 45 seconds. My very first client, huge L-shaped desk covered with papers. And she wanted it decluttered because she had hired an assistant and there was nowhere for the assistant to work. And it was like, I'm not just saying a few papers here and there, I'm saying it was wall to wall, about 8 inches worth. Couldn't see the cover of the desk. So my very first day on the job, and this is before virtual was a thing, this is back in 2018. I didn't know what I was doing. I had only seen one other practitioner in the world doing this, and I know, really? So I said, okay, Julie, what's this piece of paper in front of you? And she looks at me like I'm from Venus, and she says, you're out of your tree. We are not going through all of this one thing at a time. I'm thinking, I've already taken her money. I don't know what else to do. She relented, and she started going through it, a little grudgingly. And she starts to fly through it after about 5 minutes. Why do I have these utility bills? I don't need them. My banker does not need these banks, or my tax man doesn't need these bank statements. I can get all of this online. The brain has already, she said, by doing this slowly, her brain is already seeing, okay, and searching out ways for it to eliminate the clutter coming in. But here was the litmus test. The trade magazines that she would buy and never read, and we threw away about $50 worth. She told me in about a couple of weeks, she said, I was in that store where I usually buy the magazines and my arm automatically reached for it. And I went, wait a minute now, I just threw away a whole bunch of them. I'll buy it every 2 months. See? Clutter not coming in the house. So if you do it slowly and methodically, then you will keep, but by now you're seeing that the clutter it will be reduced to the point where you may be clutter-free for life.
Okay, I love this story. So let's give I have some layers of questions regarding that. So, um, do we, if I could, okay, I love the stay in one room, one area, one thing at a time.
Mhm.
The first thing that comes to mind when we do that is, what if I have things I don't know if I want to need, or I know I have to file somewhere else? So, for example, I'm always doing education, and then I also have notes that I have for my actual clients, right? So they're all mixed together, and I'm going through a pile of papers,
Mhm.
right? Are you suggesting that if I pick up a piece of paper and it's a note for a class, I go and file that piece of paper away? But if I don't have a filing system, because that's what got me into trouble in the first place, I'll go, start to file it, and I'll notice my whole filing system's messy. Then I'll go to do them, and I'm like, away, I need notebooks, and then I'll go buy notebooks. Then I forgot the whole reason of that first pile and this is real life examples that I've actually heard, I've commiserated with girlfriends about, like other friends about when we're trying to declutter, and also myself in different various storylines. So what do you suggest? Do we set up filing cabinets before because we know we're going to do the papers, or like how does one deal with situations like that, or is that too specific?
No, that was beautiful. And many times people think that the answer to their clutter is to organize it. Frankly, a mentor actually said this to me just as I was beginning. You cannot organize before you declutter. It's a myth. Now, yes, you can, but what are you doing? You're really pushing around the ghosts from the past, the things that no longer serve you, the things you don't need. So the first thing that I always do, and I always get my clients to do, is make a quick sweep of the area, whether that's as small as your desk or as large as the entire room, and get rid of the obvious trash first. And
Okay.
I guarantee you, seen it, oh, it is honestly 30% of what you're seeing. Your brain will say, don't need it, don't need it, don't need it, don't need it. After 45 minutes, things change, and we can talk about that. But for the first 45 minutes, and yes, there's a reason why I narrowed in on that, your brain will automatically say, like Julie, why do I have big steamers? Surely I don't need them. Your brain, your subconscious already knows what you don't need. And you've reduced the rubble by 30% just by getting rid of that. And then you can think about organizing, and we can talk about that. But if you just get rid of the obvious trash first, number one, it'll be physically a little less overwhelming. It'll be less mentally overwhelming as well. And the boost to your self-confidence to see that trash bag. I had the strength to do all that. Well, yeah, it was only obvious garbage anyway. Yeah, but darn it all, you did it. You got that done. Yay, you sis boom bop.
Yes, yes. Well, I mean, I had to wrestle the garbage out of my husband's piles. I'm like, why? I don't keep garbage. Why do you have these piles of flyers? So,
Use
but
that. You know,
right.
pizza when you're gluten free, and they don't offer gluten free pizza at that pizza joint. That's obvious trash, and yet you keep it to move. It looks so tasty. Get rid of it,
Yeah,
and then you can move on to the next step. Which is
right. What is the next step?
next step is. And every declutter or organizer in the world has said this about your bags or your piles of keep, don't, because you've already done your toss. Your keep, your donate, depending on what category we're doing, and maybe. Now, some people in my field disagree with the maybe pile. And remember I said about the 45 minutes? What happens at the 45-minute mark, could be as much as 50 minutes, is decision fatigue hits. All of a sudden, your brain, it feels like the battery thing on your phone. Yeah, where did it go? Where did my brain power go? Why am I looking at a piece of paper and not even comprehending it? That's decision fatigue. So if you have that, and that little battery indicator is gradually draining as you're doing this for that 45 minutes, and you're going to have maybes, the things that you're not absolutely sure what to do.
Mhm.
You don't want to expect it to be one and done, because these things have memories, or you're not quite sure. There's a lot of uncertainty when it comes to decluttering. It's if somebody can do it bam all at once, good for them. I sure can't. And what do I coach people with? You don't want to put that kind of pressure on yourself. Have a maybe pile, so you've got your keep, your donate, or whatever, or toss. And you toss, yes, another toss again, because you're gonna see more stuff that, why didn't I get rid of that? Okay, what was I thinking? And then your maybe pile. Once you've gone through all of these things, and again, whether it's clothing or papers or what, and it can even be digital, the one system really is, it's not like pantyhose. Pantyhose, one size does not fit all, but this one system, it does fit everything. You can adapt it to all areas of your life. That's a whole other conversation that we can have. Basically, get rid of as much as you can, decide what you want to keep, and then you can get into your organizing things, whether they're file cabinets or whatever. And you pull up Martha Stewart on the internet, and she'll give you some pretty flowered boxes. Yeah.
More, more places to hide my clutter.
I do have storage solutions, by the way. No, I don't sell them, but I do have, if you have a question about, well, what do I do? Then what do I do with this? And we can have a brief conversation about that, if that's helpful.
I love that. I love that. I mean, for me, I know that where I did put anything in boxes, they'd have to be acrylic so I could see what's in it. I remember in the beginning or middle, more middle end of the pandemic, I was on Instagram a lot because we were all scrolling, right? Not so much now, but back then. And there were even in Asia apps where people would download their clothing. So before they made a purchase, they would look on their online closet to be sure they didn't have anything. Because I definitely have that issue. I was looking through, there's a meme of this girl that goes on for like 5 minutes because she's throwing in a pile her jeans. And I think she stopped at like 76 or something. I don't have 76 pairs of jeans, Katie. However, I have this affinity for black tights and I have black leggings at the hoo-ha. So many of them and I don't even wear all of them. And then half of them I forgot I bought, right? And I had some system before I do my middle of the night spaced out shopping thing. I mean, I know the answer is just not to have it. Just take off your credit cards, everything, because I definitely won't buy something if I have to get up and get my credit card, you know.
Okay. Okay.
But you know, it's I had gotten a color consult by this amazing woman named Amy Janice. She's located in
Oh,
Vegas.
yes.
You know Amy, right? And what was cool was because, you know, I am being more out in the open and I'm picking out future clothing and trying to figure out, like, you know, even my background, what is good for my particular business and what colors I should be wearing, what jewelry. So once I did the analysis with her and I have all of my shades of what my element is, it's been very easy to declutter the clothing because I just laid my little things and I went, oh, that's not even for you. Instead of me going, oh, but I really like this, but I can't figure out why it doesn't work for me, type of thing. What are some other additional, if you have them, suggestions for helping people decide? Because, you know, I love Marie Kondo and also it did not bring me joy to do that process.
Oh, dear Lord. You sure you want to ask me that? Okay, yeah.
Well, I'm just saying because besides, it's just not a good color for you. It's not a good fit for you. Don't, if the size is wrong, don't worry about it. This is a new you that we're wanting you to fill your wardrobe with. What are some other kitty secrets and tips?
Let me just touch on the Marie Kondo thing. I think she's absolutely marvelous. She caused a revolution. I do have a couple of her books. I think she makes some absolutely marvelous points. The only thing that I would change, she does the whole house by category. I work by category with one room. For most of my clientele, as I mentioned, is ADHDers. Uh, and they talked about her method, and they're just saying, I don't want all of my pants on the sofa, and I don't want all of this stuff out. Doing things room by room, I think it's much less overwhelming. Now, coming to decision making, that is sometimes where you need a trusted friend, family member, coach, to help you to make the decisions. Now, what you can do is the small and simple method. And you can resolve to do it one. How many, Jenny? One.
One.
I noticed the one lady do it. Take one item out of your closet per day. Go in and it's gonna leap out at you. Whatever it is, it's going to leap out at you. You can resolve to do something like that, which makes it a whole lot less painful. Making decisions, and it depends what category as well. If you don't think that you can do a 45-minute get rid of all the obvious trash, do it in, again, even one piece of paper a day or one book per day. Go to the bookcase and pick out one book. Doing it at a certain time per day, or setting yourself some sort of time that, okay, Saturday at 1 o'clock, I did have a client who did this because that was when her husband was out of the house and she could actually focus and concentrate. She would do it for 1 hour on Saturday at 1 o'clock. And her brain was trained that way. And she did that for months. Yes, it took a while, but she did it. And she would say, I'm so frustrated, I should be able to do more, I'm frustrated. But I just spoke to her, actually, it's funny, a couple of days ago, and she did yet another house move. And she said, we were a lot less cluttered this time than we were when we moved last year. So it works. It's just a matter of consistency and making that decision that you want to move forward from whatever could have been holding, the ghosts that could have been holding you back from your life. Also, knowing who those many pairs of leggings could could benefit. Can you sell them? Can a ballet student, I don't know what kind of leggings they are, but could a ballet student benefit from who's, students don't have a whole lot of money, could they benefit? You can enlarge your heart that by knowing that somebody else could really use this stuff and you're not using it, honey.
Oh, I love that. I love that, Kitty. Excellent. And also, one of my tried and true things is I put things in a bag, and if I can't remember what's in it, it goes in the giveaway. And that's it. Like, especially certain things, because I do have memories attached to clothing I wore during my chemotherapy. And, I gained some weight going into early menopause from chemo. It just threw me into menopause. So the clothing I was wearing, I grew out of it. And then in that, then I had surgery, then I lost weight again. So it's like this whole flux back and forth. And I noticed that I loved the way it felt on me, but I would feel sad wearing the stuff that I wore during chemo. And so for me, it was this needing to remember my suffering in some bizarre way. And I was like, why? I mean, I'm very, very honest about how it just sucked. The treatment sucks. So why would I want to put it back on my body? Like, my body does not want to wear it. I think, right? And the key is to let it go. And now I'm getting these really cool pop flex outfits. Casey's is an Asian American designer, and I'm like, I put those on and I feel happy. And I'm quite happy with this being 56 years young and wearing these cute outfits, right? You know, really, I think I love that we're giving people permission. When you let go of your clutter, you can actually have fun with more choices now, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And you're not tied to, you made such a beautiful point there about the clothes that you had during chemotherapy and how they made you feel. And that's the power of ghosts, and we don't realize it. Even, the proverbial, we've all heard of the lady who keeps the wedding dress in the back of the closet because, well, damn it, it cost me $1,000. Yeah, but you've been divorced for 15 years. How was that marriage, by the way? Well,
Right over.
I divorced her for a reason. And you're holding on to this because, well, my daughter might want it. Your daughter doesn't want anything. You're miserable. Like, give your help a shake.
Kitty, this is so good because my thing is, right? All right. Right over there is my wedding dress hanging up on my pile of things to give. And here's the thing. All my pictures, I was really happy. I had a terrible time on my wedding. My wedding was horrible. My husband had just lost his brother 18 months before. He died very suddenly at 26. And my sister-in-law took over my wedding. It was her wedding. And I was made to feel like I was the bridesmaid. All the bridal conventions, she was the one who pushed her. It was horrible experience. Why the heck am I still holding on to that wedding? You know, I like the other gown next to it because my husband and I renewed our vows in Vegas. That dress is cute. I look at that dress and I'm very happy. I'm like, I'm gonna cut it short and make the train a shawl. That's a completely different look when I think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kitty, we're gonna have to have you come back. We're gonna have to have Kitty come back, and we're gonna find some case studies and do something fun because I think this is something very vital. Would you come back?
Oh, after this conversation, absolutely.
Let's do a part 2, folks, okay? So don't forget, we have links in the description for you to keep in touch with Kitty. And remember, you always have my dance and heel option classes. HEAL, not HEEL. I don't dance in heels, folks. I tried. It doesn't work for me. So it's dance and heel, HEAL. And then go to Kitty's amazing giveaway in the descriptors. Kitty, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me, Jenny. This has been a real hoot.
Thank you so much. All right, guys, we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to Dance to Heal with Jenny C. Cohen. Come back next time to hear stories of recovery through movement and learn more ways that you can move your body. To work with me and continue your journey, visit OutsideInRecovery.com. Are you ready to move?